It's a lot going on. It's a historic shift here. I really have detected for the first time in a long time, many decades, that Europe is ready to really accelerate reform, accelerate growth, and really using words yesterday like competitiveness, growth, investment, private sector, risk-taking. I think we're on the cusp of a renaissance on the continent.
Let's tackle the theme of your conference, Europe at a Crossroads, a time to act to tackle competitiveness and growth. You have this conference, you want to amplify this call to action, getting financials behind the big landscape here in Europe, behind some of the big pledges thrown out to the system from Europe. What does the industry need to do to try and help out Europe?
Well, and first of all, so I agree, Europe has a bright future. I think we are at a crossroads, and I think the wake-up call is being heard here. Again, the language has shifted now, it's time for action. The private sector has a critical role to play in the financial sector. Is central to this economic renaissance. Just unleash the private sector, unshackle the private sector, risk-taking, investment, growth, just let them go, and the private sector here can innovate and create jobs.
How key is the savings and investment union? Because as Steve was throwing out to me, again, he was talking about debt levels, and we know there are fiscally constrained countries in Europe that may not be able to get to the 1.5% level on GDP spending on the defence packages. So just one of the initiatives, the big initiative they may struggle to get to. So talk us through some of those issues.
Yeah, indeed. Well, the big news is that Germany is going to spend more, and that's key, and that's historic. So I think leadership out of Berlin is really, really critical, and I applaud Chancellor Merz for really taking on a very tough topic. It's the private sector investment that matter. There's 1.4 trillion worth of savings on this continent. A lot of it gets intermediated outside the continent, then comes back. Put private sector capital to work, private savings, private investment, along with public investment, and the two will amplify each other.
Are you worried about debt levels in Europe and the bond vigilantes returning, looking at some of these packages, even though we're talking about sort of separating out the spending package from the day-to-day operations?
Sure, I worry about debt levels everywhere because we see it on every continent, every country, household, corporate, sub-corporate. Every debt level has gone up relative to the economy. The question is, what are you doing with it? If you're investing for growth, investing for capital formation, investing in capital, human capital, I think that's different than just transfer payments and consumption. Invest for capital formation. It makes a big difference. Europe
knew it needed to get its act together even before Trump. But this has been a huge motivating factor. Now we still have the threat of tariffs. We were just having a conversation with you on the other side of the world a few days ago talking about tariffs too. How concerned are you about this big landscape shift that Trump is trying to engineer?
Yeah, I hear it everywhere I go, and I travel around the world. No one's going to win a tariff or trade war, and that's what it feels like we're beginning. And import substitution policies don't work. We've seen that in Latin America. I think the global economy is going to be worse off because of it, but there's no turning back. The president's determined to do this, and the rest of the world is going to have to respond.
We know that consumer sentiment is suffering. Yeah. Business investment is pulling back. What are the consequences for the economy if we continue in this vein? I know we're all counting down to the 2nd of April and just what we see, the devil in the detail. But if we continue in this vein, what is the impact globally?
Yeah, higher cost, slower growth, higher unemployment. It is not good for global growth. And so, but it's going to happen because the president's determined to do it. But I think it will vary by country. And we haven't even begun the retaliation yet, and that's coming too.